So, you're probably asking yourself this question, right? Same question I've asked myself for a long time. Is it possible to mix entire records off of one studio monitor? And you can look online, there's plenty of information to argue why you should use more than one studio monitor to mix and do your engineering and everything. And I wholeheartedly agree with all of that information. But one of the things that I always think about is when I first started making music back in 2005. I was in college, and during that time, when I first started, I did not have the proper setup. I didn't have proper studio equipment or anything like that. All I had was a really, really cheap MIDI keyboard and a Sanyo stereo system and on my computer. So I hooked it up to where all of the music would play out of the from my computer to the Sanyo, and those were my studio monitors at the time. And I remember the first beat that I ever sold, somebody passed my dorm room and they were listening to the music from those Sanyos. And they were like, "Hey man, who made that beat?" I made it. And they bought it. The first beat I ever sold. And I sold it for about $350. And but that's beside the point. A few weeks after that, I met a guy from Memphis that was also a music producer, and he said, "Hey man, I want you to come by my room and listen to some of my beats." I said, "Cool." So I went to his room. Dude had one KRK, one studio monitor, right? And I'm looking and I'm like, wow, like everything that I was reading online at the time, because it was about 2006, 2005, 2006, but everything that I was reading at the time was saying you need two studio monitors and you need to make sure that your room is acoustically treated. And at the college that I was going to at the time, it was it was like cinder blocks, like the walls in the room were basically like cinder blocks with paint on them. So the sound in them wasn't all that great. But this dude had one studio monitor, and the beats that he played out of that one studio monitor blew me away. I was like, wow, why are they so clear? And even when he took it to the car, it was clear. And so I always thought about that, and it made me research during that time about whether it was possible to mix and master with one studio monitor. And what I found out during my research is that once upon a time, that's how all music was mixed. In the early days of audio recording, they only used one studio monitor, and a lot of the records that came out during that time, they came out really well, very well-rounded records. And it was because they really didn't have to focus as much on the reflections of a room than they do now when you're bringing in more studio monitors and things like that. So once I found that out, I always had in the back of my mind, like, okay, mixing in mono is possible, mixing with one studio monitor is possible, but I'm gonna try and do the whole the stereo monitor type deal. So that's what I've done up until this point. And during from 2006 all the way to 2022, which is now, I've switched back and forth between stereo and mono. But what I can tell you is that the tracks that I mix in mono, they are so balanced. They sound so great. And especially as of lately, like literally all I use now to master and mix, aside from my headphones, is one iLoud micro monitor. I know it comes in a pair. All I use is one iLoud micro monitor. And these things are so accurate. Even when you're in a stereo field, they're really, really accurate. And I just use this one monitor, and after I mix on here, I listen through a pair of stereo headphones, and you know, I get the job done. So don't think that you can't mix or master with just one studio monitor. That's the way I look at it. It's like there's no rules to this stuff, man. There's plenty of people that might think otherwise, like, oh man, your speakers got to be spaced this wide apart and all of that. I don't subscribe to any of that, man, because most of the people that I know that are successful in music, they don't know about any of this stuff. Matter of fact, they didn't even go to music school. They don't know how to read music, but they super successful. Ain't never sat in a classroom, but they just go based off of life experience. And I'm telling you from my life experience, from 2006, mixing in mono and mixing stereo, it is possible. It's just whatever you prefer. So hopefully this will give you some insight. And if you want to listen to some of my mixes, I'll leave a link below where you can listen to my tracks and see for yourself. I think they're mixed pretty good. But also, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them down below. Do you mix in mono? Do you mix in stereo? Do you mix using some other type of platform? Let me know. Let us know in the comments below. Like, comment, and subscribe. Peace.